Heidi ho, everyone, and thank you for joining me for Trading Buddies on this Monday, the 8th of, where are we? July? My goodness me, we are as well. I hope your weekend was wonderful and you're ready to get into another week of trading without so much news this week. Whole lot of stuff happening last week, which I've got to say disrupted my plan a little bit, but we did survive, but we didn't put too much in the bank, unfortunately. Let's see if we can improve that this week. Rightio, I will kick off by saying let's go look at some gold charts. Well, the hourly gold chart to see if we can find a breakout trade for today as we prepare for London session. It may be that we've already broken out of the range. Let's have a look, see. The range of Asia session will be the high here. I'll just make that a little bit smaller in size. There we go. The bottom of the range will be the low of this bar. Now, as usual, I do not want to trade a breakout when we're close to either the high or the low of the range. So if we are here in the next 2 minutes or so, when London opens, I won't be placing an order. If price pulls back into this area, however, I will place the order. And the reason for that is so that we can withstand a little bit. I'm sorry, you guys can't see me. That's probably a good thing, some of you might say. The reason for that is if price is in this vicinity, it can withstand, or we can withstand, or the order can withstand a little bit of price movement either way. But if it's here, which is great if it continues to go short, but if we just get wicked into a short and then it goes long, that's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. So that's why when I'm trading a breakout, I want price to be, or one of these OCO breakouts, so long and short, I want price to be dead in the middle or thereabouts in the middle of that range. And that is not the case currently. So we will not be entering an order if price is down here. Looks like it was a tough week. I didn't trade the breakouts last week. I did the week before and had a reasonable, in fact, I had a good week on gold in that respect. But gold didn't do me any favors last week because I was in a short on gold based on the weekly chart, I think it was, from 3 weeks ago. Yeah, traded this bar here. Got short and bang, the US dollar. Of course, I'll blame the US dollar and its weakness for that, and that certainly appears to be the case. Interesting to see if a lower high forms again on this pair. Let's check back with the hourly chart. With not much time left, and it would appear that we're going to close very near the low of the range, so I won't be placing that breakout order at all. Price not moving too much currently. In fact, looks like it wants to go further short. The dollar might be rallying a bit as I look at my US dollar chart. That seems to be the case, coming off the bottom of last week's bar. And that, of course, is concurrent with gold coming off the top. Very close to the close or the open of London. And it looks like there won't be a trade, guys. For me, anyway. Entirely up to you guys how you want to deal with that. But if I'm near the low, I don't want to trade short. Righto. There's the candle closing and London is open. All right, so no breakout trade on gold this morning. That's not unusual for a Monday for me. But repeating, when I'm right on the limit of the range, I don't want to be trading it. Let's see how that would work out. Righto. Those of you who were in last week, I had a bunch of orders setting up for pound short against just about anything For euro short against the Canadian dollar, I set two orders on that, one on the weekly, one on the daily later in the week, and euro Aussie, I think on the daily. So you guys wouldn't have been privy to that. I set the order, maybe you were. No, that was Monday's candle. So it was Tuesday's candle. So you wouldn't have been. So I went short here on euro versus the Aussie. Those of you who are in my group would know this. Unfortunately, I did not manage this very well. When I saw price or the news, that's right, the election news was getting close, and news on that, I moved my stop loss to entry. And as you can see, price came back and took my trailing stop out at a break-even trade. And of course, the market gap down this morning, it would have hit TP1. So badly managed trade by me. SH12 happens, is all I can say. Maybe adjust that thinking a little bit, but maybe not. I'll go back and have a look at that during the week and see if I should have done anything different. All right, this week is a new week, and the pound orders that were setting up didn't actually activate. I've got a couple of orders in the market at the moment, both on pound versus the Australian dollar. Now, this one's on the daily chart, trading Friday's bar, which evidently to me is still below this trade line. You can see that the trade line was broken, and price has not been able to close above that trade line ever since. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days ago. So a week and a bit back there, and price has been unable to come back above that level. This reversal bar here is telling me that if price comes back to the low, it should continue and go short. And I've got my first take profit pretty much at the low of that bar there, which coincides with that low over here. The entry, if you wanted to follow this trade, is at 1.8939. So 1.8939. Stop loss is at 1.9839. That's not true. 19039. 100 pips. Yeah. Okay. 1.9039 is the stop loss. And I'm going to take my first profit. Very skinny. The first profit. There's a reason for that. At 39 pips, which of course will be the round number, 8900. That's one reason for that. But the other reason for that is that I've also got this on a weekly, pound versus the Aussie. Now, what I'm trading here is pretty much a combination of, I like the rollover process, lower high after, you could call it a head and shoulders, but I won't even go there. That's a little bit convoluted. But certainly we're getting lower low here, lower high here, an extension. A little bit different because we've got a higher low, but we've certainly got another lower high here. So I'm anticipating that the A, B, C may come into play here. That's on the weekly chart. So the second reason that I've got my first take profit on the daily is because it's before the entry to the weekly. So the weekly trade will be entered at 1.8895. You might think that's a massive stop loss, 456 pips of it. The stop loss line is at 1.9351. And my first take profit is just a little bit less than half of that at 1.8695, I think it is. Yep, 1.8695. So that's the weekly order on pound versus the Aussie. The daily, as I've given to you, will take profit before the weekly actually enters. So we could be in two positions there, but pretty much trading for free in most regards if the daily works out and the weekly actually triggers. So that's pound versus the Aussie. If you wanted to follow either or both of those, you've now got the levels for them. I've got a massive watch list this week. Game changer bars all over the place. I will share with you what is top of my pops, if you like. This is one of them. Kiwi versus the CAD. I think this is a dependent trade, dependent on
Sorry
what
to
happens.
cut in, mate.
Hello,
I've
mate.
got I've
You
got a
awake?
trade. Yes, I'm awake. Yeah. I've got a trade long Euro CAD if you are
Yep.
interested.
Cool.
Um,
Let's see.
okay. So let's see if I can bring this up. I'll use this. Okay. Let's bring the screen in. Here we go here. So here's a long Euro CAD here. What I'm looking to do is probably sort of try and get to this point here, initially, and then we'll see, see where we are. It's around about an even money trade. Now, the reason for the trade is that Marine Le Pen was predicted to do pretty well in the second round of the French elections, and she hasn't done well. Her party hasn't done very well because the left have managed to do some sort of deal. On a technical kind of reason, for taking the trade. If you look at this is really what I've looked at is the 4 hour and the break of this particular level here. So we've broken to the upside. We've come down and tested it with a gap sort of as the market opened. And now we've started to move just a little bit higher again. The actual trades off.
That's a pretty strong cup and handle you got sitting there as well. I'm not sure if it's in the
Yeah,
right
so
position, but
yeah, you're absolutely well, yeah, or in inverted head and shoulders. I mean, there's a pretty nice looking pattern here, so there could be a genuine long break to the upside. So we can look for 1-to-1 just to the top of the bar, but if that can break out, if the Marine Le Pen news if it is a driver, then there's a chance that this could break to the upside and go relatively long way, and we can have a pretty tight stop on the fact that we're trading on a shorter term time frame. So stops can be here, and I'll look if this does break out. I'll look to shift stops up pretty quickly. This is a 15/5 minute trade really. So when I'm looking at this, the pattern is here. There's just a kind of drag of this of a trend line here on the 5 minute chart. We are currently above it, but we are struggling. So what I quite like here is the break, of this particular level. You're talking about a kind of cup and handle. It looks like a 5 minute cup and handle going on. We'll know in around about a minute and a half whether the 5 minutes actually going to look like it's going to hold. But I like these bars here. Small bodies, big tails, suggesting that we are probably going to hold this particular area at this stage. It might not, but that's what it's suggesting. So suggesting that we're going to hold the area. I've just basically taken trays off the top of these bars, the break of the bars, and see if we can actually break this this top level here. Which if people are more comfortable with, that's absolutely fine too. Might even be a slightly better line here. Yeah, not really. Not really.
I think the one you had's right. But if you add one from the high, there, if you add one from there, I think you'll
add one from this point.
From the second touch on your existing trend line.
This one here. Yes.
That'll be nice.
I know what you mean. This one here.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely right. Yeah, so if we're looking at that, I don't know if that's a channel of some sort. Let's see. No. Oh, maybe. Maybe. We sort of take that away. Could be a bit of a channel. And if we have a look at what the measurement on that would be. It doesn't get us up. It gets us back to these highs here. But you can see there's a gap here as well. As this market opened, there's a gap there. So it'll probably attempt to close that gap at some point. Now that's a pretty good signal, the fact that we've closed above both the trend lines that we had here. It's a relatively good signal. So that's what we got this morning, mate. EuroCAD, it's a 5-minute trade. So potentially taking trades at the highs, but let's have a look at the price action if it can get up there and see whether we can hold on, because on a daily, it's actually looking, well, actually, we both kind of pointed out the possible pattern here, which looks like an inverted head and shoulders, you know. So anybody that's not aware of the inverted head and shoulders, it's this pattern here. There's the right shoulder. There's the head. Sorry, there's the right shoulder. There's left, right, head. And that would give us a neckline along here, which looks like we've just about broken. And the idea would be to try and sort of like join the shoulders together and the neckline together, and then see if we can get, let me just make this bit a little bit bigger. So we've got this neckline here. We got the joining of the shoulders, you know, going through the head there. And that would mean that we'd look for a measurement of around about this. Disappears. Around about that, which leads us to a price in this area here. So, you know, there's a potential for maybe a 3.5 to 1 if it does break out, and actually that would look all right up there, wouldn't it? If we sort of like then have a look at this on a longer term time frame.
Nice symmetry
That looks
on there.
Yeah, I think that's a decent target actually, mate. That's a decent target. So, you know, it depends on your appetite for risk. I'm highly likely if this can get up to the highs, I'd be really likely to see if I can manage it to kind of break through that level, and then use this as a target, because that would be a decent trade if we can get up there. But that's the idea, mate.
Like to me.
What's that?
You know, there's a soft drink, one of those energy drinks. I don't know if they're still around, but when I had vending machines, I used to load these things in the machines at the universities, and they were called V.
Oh, okay.
And they
don't remember V.
You don't? Okay, they were a nice
No.
green. They're a green can. You know, those little tiny little cans that are really skinny.
Yeah. So you're looking at this then?
That looks very much like it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I'd enjoy that. I'd enjoy that. That'd be fantastic. Well, let's see if we can get some energy behind this one. The really the sort of like the premise is about the French elections, because the thing is, it's not to say that Marine Le Pen sort of like, you know, basically being rounded on by the left is negative or positive for the euro, but the reaction seems to be positive, and that's why, you know, I'm looking to go long. There was a lot of people in this country, a lot of economists in this country, suggesting that because she won the first round from the far right, so there was a far right party winning the first round of the French elections, and there was economists in this country suggesting that would be really damaging for the French economy, and of course, if it's damaging for the French economy, it's going to affect the euro. Now, the fact that they've rounded on her and effectively done deals, you know, the left have done deals together to keep her out. She knocked down to third in the second round of the elections, which is a huge drop. And it's then opening the chart and saying, what do participants think? And at this stage, they look like they appear to be bullish on it. I'm not saying that I would have really a view on whether it's bullish or bearish, because I don't know enough about the French economy, but really sort of, you know, how that would link in. But certainly the participants are suggesting that they are bullish on it, which is why, you know, the trade, I think, is valid now we've seen a signal.
It was actually going to be the first question I asked you, because I saw that turnaround in the news, obviously, that Le Pen had gone out of favour.
Yeah.
And, you know, from where I sit, I'm thinking, uncertainty. Market doesn't like uncertainty. Is that going to be negative for the euro, or is it not? And
well, do you know where I wonder whether it? The reason that I wonder whether they might be actually probably kind of looking at this as the other side of it, as they get a bit more certainty, is that the current government is a left government and it's led by Macron, obviously, as the president. Now, Macron's party's gone down to second, but the fact is he was third. So does
Yep.
this maybe add a little bit more certainty that they are now sort of like getting to a settled wing of politics, a more settled wing of politics, because it is, on the left-hand side of politics in France. So does the market perceive it actually as more of a settled situation because there won't be wholesale changes,
Right.
rather than an uncertain situation? And it could be that we start out the week feeling a bit more confident, and then as the kind of third round comes in or other deals come in, the things then turn around, and then the uncertainty sort of does start to pick up. But I wonder whether actually after the weekend, people are feeling a bit more comfortable about which direction things are going.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't really know. Makes it a little bit tricky for me on I suppose, a longer term time frame to pick
Yeah, well, I
a
think it
direction.
is. Which is why when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, we've got to monitor this at the highs, because if we don't
Yep.
monitor it up here, then we could turn around and just come all the way back down again. And the uncertainty, as you quite rightly suggest, may well kick in. So I'd like to see it take out the highs really well. I mean, I haven't checked the data releases as yet, but I will do. Let me see what we got. Because if there's no data releases from Europe that are significant, then there's a chance that
Can't remember any. States, Kiwi, they were the headliners, I think, this week.
yeah, so we've had we got, oh yeah, there's a little bit Euro group meetings from Europe, but no, you're absolutely right. There's not a lot. There's not a lot. Monday tends to be a bit like that, doesn't it? Where most of the news kind of happens throughout the week. Average cash earnings came out from Japan at 1.9, forecast to be 2.1, so maybe slightly better than expected for the inflation bugs, or the disinflation bugs there. Uh, Home loans from this, yeah, there's not a lot really. There's a couple of German exports, so German trade balance was up, but that's not, that's not a huge mover. It'll only be a huge mover if it was at the extreme. So we'll see how we get on, mate. I mean, it's so far it's looking positive, and it was just really kind of bringing a suggestion of a trade and see if we can make some money early doors on a Monday. We did well last week, didn't we? Started the week well last week.
I started the week well, but I had a terrible trade management on the euro versus the Aussie.
Okay,
I
so
moved my stop loss too early, and
yeah,
it got hit at break even instead of me making some money. So
yeah.
wasn't too happy with that.
No, I can imagine, mate. I mean, at least it wasn't a loss, I suppose, is the bonus of that, isn't it? I mean, it's we're all trying to
Oh, it's
make
a lot.
money, or always trying to make
Yeah,
money, but at least it wasn't a
I,
loss.
I think it's a lot of BS. I want to win, right?
Yeah.
No, you are of course right. It's all about capital preservation, and
Yeah, in the end.
when you get a winner, hit it. That's fine. All
Yeah.
right, I'm going to share, and I'll get your comments on this,
Yeah.
and you'll come back to the fundamental side of things, but I'll go with the technicals on my currency indexes and see where we finish up
Sounds good.
technically, if we've got something to look at. There's where I'll find that, but not exactly there. Right, dollar index. Now we said last week, that's the daily chart, sorry. We said last week on the dollar that we were uncertain whether it had any gas left before it hit this trend line. Turns out it didn't, and had a shocker. The
Yeah.
the dollar index last week. I'm not too sure how far this goes now, to be fair, but it looks like there might be just a little bit left on the downside before we come to a decision on what happens next with the dollar. So probably more downside. I'm not too sure how much. As we anticipated, the strong performer at the end of the week was the Aussie. But look at these. Every week, the Aussie is just putting in these sell off,
Yeah.
bang, sell off, bang, sell off, bang. Amazing. And we
Mm.
first noticed this back here with
Mm.
this double bottom, and we said this is destined for higher higher prices. That's turned out to be the case, but gee whiz, I wouldn't want to be trading that on a small time frame. You get hammered. I would have
Absolutely
thought.
right, mate. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's obviously sort of a lot of push to. There's a lot of orders that are attempting to push this lower, but they keep
Yeah,
losing.
absolutely right. I don't know if that should concern me or I should be buoyed by that, but now it's broken through, the second trade line, which is probably more important than the first. So I can really only see more upside for the Aussie at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
The cat, everything, of course, because these are weighted heavily against the dollar, these indexes, you're going to see every one of these because the dollar had such a bad week, having a good week, and the Canadian dollar was no exception, of course. The thing with the Canadian dollar, and we were similarly somewhat bullish on this because of the higher low after a triple base here, if you like. This now looks to be clear of that area. However, or I don't even know if there's a however, because I think it's clear of this resistance line as well, which probably moves up to here. Oh, you stop that. Probably moves to do it. Just do it. It doesn't want to do it. There you go. Probably moves to there with these lows. Oh, sorry, these highs here. So I think we're clear of that resistance. So the CAD, I'm just a little bit bullish on the CAD
yeah, yeah.
this week. Pound, I find it difficult to be bullish on. We've got extra trade lines coming in a lot of these pairs now, given that we've had another high. I think the pound's butting its head against that, but the change of government seems to be approved by the market, and the pound has rallied substantially in the last week. I'd find it difficult to say there's not a little bit more upside involved there, but this also might be a honeymoon week for the pound. And if it hits that resistance, I think I'd be a seller again. But the small time frames only, I'm not sure of the directional bias here until we get through this high, if we get through this high, or indeed reject it. So not real sure on the pound, but if I'm honest, I'm thinking honeymoon week last week. Maybe there's a bit
Mm.
of a pullback this week.
Do you know, interestingly, if you look over the last 44 years, the pound tends to weaken after a general election. Um, and of course, that doesn't mean it's weakened 44 times because general elections are once every 5 years and sometimes
Sure.
sometimes slightly less. But if you're looking at kind of the period, then you're looking at a tendency to weaken. And of course, the other tendency to weaken is when there's a lowering of interest rates. And I think we can say with relative comfort. I don't think we can't be sure about anything, but we can say with relative comfort that the BOE are likely to move this month at their
Okay.
meeting. So I think the pound has got some downside. It's been a tricky one to call because the timing of it seems to be a bit harder, and maybe the weakness in the dollar has kind of managed to boost it, and maybe against the dollar it's not the best, but the pound does tend to weaken against both those particular instances. So I wonder whether we might get some downside with the pound.
Yeah, look, I've probably got to consider myself lucky that last week none of my none of my setups actually came to pass because I was absolutely bearish this pair or any pair against the pound.
Yeah,
Anything against the pound, I wanted to sell the pound,
yeah,
and fortunately, it didn't get below the lows. Otherwise, I would have been in deep SH12, I think. So directional bias was absolutely 180 degrees incorrect from the pound. Let's see if that changes this week. As I said, I think the honeymoon that it went through last week may be just a little bit too much, and I think there'll be a little bit of a pullback on the pound from a technical perspective. Swiss is really hard for me now to get a handle on because it wants to go either side of this big trend line, which of course we've been monitoring for since it broke through here, and it tried, then it broke through, then it got this big reversal bar 3 weeks ago, and now it's retesting the backside of that again. Interesting. and I'm unsure. So I've really got no bias with the Swissy this week. I'll wait and see approach. Kiwi also got a new trend line this week, and in the middle of both, but this support level, which was really nearly hit again, but the backside of this trade line has not. So I think it's in no man's land, and a little bit hard to predict the Kiwi. Interest rate announcement this week will change that, I do believe. Now, I'm bullish the Kiwi if the RBNZ says, no, we're doing nothing. I don't think they're going to raise interest rates, although both the Aussie, or the RBA and the RBNZ have mentioned all of those possibilities
Hmm.
in their last couple of meetings. So I don't see that happening. But if it did, then this trend line means nothing. RBNZ or the Kiwi versus anything is probably going to burst through. I would admit if they raise interest rates, certainly. But I think if they stay on hold, as would be widely accepted as the norm for this meeting, I think you'll probably see the Kiwi have a crack at this trend line as well. So mildly bullish the Kiwi, but I'm going to have to wait till the news. Yen, RIP, Euro, tricky, as we've
Yeah.
just discussed from a fundamental perspective. Not real sure, because this will be probably decided this week's direction on that French election and how the market reacts to that. I don't see any wriggle room to the upside, a little bit maybe, but I think it's coming up against resistance very, very quickly. And I would not be a buyer of the euro at this point. I don't believe. That leaves me with a summary of dollar, probably weak still. Aussie still the strongest, in my humble opinion. CAD's got claims. And if the Kiwi news is neutral, or heaven forbid, if they raise interest rates, I'd be a bull on the Kiwi as well. So still a fan of the Aussie, and not a fan of the dollar this week. That's where I'm at, mate.
Yeah.
What the fundamentals tell me.
Well, the really what you're suggesting from last week still holds. Nothing's hugely changed. I tell you one thing that I think is quite notable is the seasonal moves are negative dollar for the next month. Um,
Okay.
and particularly, let me just bring up my calculations and see what it ended up with. So particularly seasonal moves are negative dollar actually for the week as well, for this week and for the month. So what that suggests, and I think this is quite interesting, is that when you get an event that we all know about, i.e. 4th of July, and then you get some seasonal kind of patterns, what it's suggesting is that the week after 4th of July, the dollar weakens.
Okay.
And it weakens, you know, not every time, but we're basically we're talking about 80% of the time the dollar weakens after the 4th of July.
That's a good number.
Yeah, it's a really
I
good
can work
number.
with that.
Yeah. And it tends to perform the worst against the Australian dollar
Oh,
and the pound,
I
interestingly.
forgot. I forgot to
Um,
mention that I actually did place an order on the Aussie versus the dollar. I didn't give you that. Sorry, guys. It's currently in drawdown. I've got to say, weekly. I'm trading the breakout with that breakout of this trend line. Probably get a retest of that, but this is a weekly trade. And our stop loss is way down here. So sorry, mate. Just thought forgot to give that out earlier.
no problem.
Entry if you wanted to know, and this would probably be good for you guys because you're not in the trade yet. 0.67595. So I've been slipped into that somehow. I can't remember what the exact entry level was, but let's go with that. Stop loss is 0.66. The figure, yeah, 0.66. And my first take profit is at 136 pips. I'll let you work that out. It is 6895, 0.6895. And I've got a TP2 in there. I don't know why. That's unusual for me. But anyway, it's 6990 thereabouts is TP2. There you go. I have to share that with you.
Thanks,
We'll
buddy.
see how that goes through the week. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, so it's weak against the Aussie. It tends to be weak against the pound. Around about slightly weaker against the CAD, but the CAD's not one of the strongest. The Euro tends to be a bit stronger, and the Kiwi and the Swissy. So we're looking, pretty much across the board, barring the yen and the CAD, which is slightly higher, but not quite as high. But very weak. As I say, 80% sort of over the last 20 years, the dollar has weakened again across the board after 4th of July, and I think because of the event, and we all know what it is, and it's actually a sort of a genuine calendar period. It probably has a little bit more sway, and those numbers are high. An 80% probability of weakening is a high number. So,
Okay.
and as I say, also going into the month of July, the dollar tends to weaken. So it is one of the underperformers. And looking at it, the euro and the pound, actually, euro, pound, and Swissy tend to be the best over a longer period against the dollar.
Okay. What does that look like on a monthly chart? Looks like we're in a mess. That's what it looks like to me. Um, have you got much more at the moment?
No, mate, that's pretty much me.
Let's have a look at that. So July 2015. Gee whiz, going back now. Where's that? 1st to 7th, 2016. There we go. Down she went. Oh, this is Euro versus dollar. Dollar index I'm looking for, aren't I?
Yeah. So are you looking? Yeah, the week
Do I have it?
after, really, the
There
week
I
of
have it.
the week after the 4th of July.
The week after. Oh, okay, we'll have to go to weekly chart then. Let's have a look and see how that pans out. July. There's July. There's the 4th. Didn't work.
What year is that?
Hang on, I'll get the week right. No, that was right. So
That one's right.
there's the week there. Sold
Yeah,
off.
red bar.
4th of July. 2009. Bit forgetting on the weekly chart now. There's the 5th. Well, yeah, that one worked.
Yeah. Yeah, and a big follow through as well, right?
You can say that. Let's go with the year after. There's the next week. Worked again. Okay. You got me. That's convinced.
Yeah.
That's 3 out of 3. That's 100%. But
Yeah.
we'll go with 80, right?
Yeah. 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 80 over the last 20 years. So it's pretty strong. It's a pretty strong signal. So if you're thinking about the dollar index, of course, that's mainly weighted by the euro and the yen. And against the yen, it doesn't underperform quite as significantly, but it does underperform against the euro. The strongest of all is tends to be the Kiwi, with the strongest returns.
Okay.
Yeah, the Aussie tends to have more years where it's beaten it, but the Kiwi tends to have the stronger returns when it wins.
With the Kiwi,
Yep.
how's the Kiwi looking going into the RBNZ?
Well,
This week
um,
is bullish, right? Because of that,
um,
or not so much.
it's pretty flat, to be honest.
Okay.
Do you know? I have to say, mate, I the fundamental sort of situation that we've got right now, and I wonder whether intraday traders are about to have a bit of a field day. You know, we've seen sort of like big sweeping sort of trends on longer term time frames recently, but that's created by quite high volatility in the market, and we're kind of economies are starting to equalize a little bit. You know, yes, we've got sort of inflation which is still being battled, but if you take inflation out of the picture, we haven't seen the economic collapse that you would have thought, or I would have thought anyway, and maybe many would have thought would have happened to enable inflation to come down without too much intervention, which would create volatility, because then the central bank would be in a situation where they've got high interest rates, and yet they've got a weakening economy, which they would need to solve by having low interest rates. But that hasn't really happened. What we've had is sort of, and when I say high interest rates, they're not even that high. They are just slightly above average. You know, if you sort of like think the average interest rate is probably around about 3%, they're probably just above average. So we got you know, I think it was the velocity and the speed that it all happened which is what created the spooking in the market. But I wonder whether we're sort of starting to normalize, because if you look at some of the data, some of the other data points on, you know, economically, with all of the major nations, all of them have got growth and all of them have got weakness, depending on which area you look in. There's nothing which is just absolutely collapsing. And because of we've got this kind of normalizing situation, it's kind of saying, yes, inflation will ease back, and yes, central banks will lower interest rates, but don't expect zero from interest rates. We're much more likely to kind of find a kind of level which we settle at, which is probably more like 3% on an interest rate, you know, rather than.
I think you've got to keep in focus that, you know, what we experienced for the last 3 years was absolutely out of the box. We've never seen that before. It's never happened before.
No, so well, this is the thing.
We're not going back there, I don't think.
We're not going back there, and as things normalize, then the opportunity in the market probably shifts, as I say, more towards the intraday trader, because if daily time frames are ranging, then it's the intraday trader that's going to find the trends within those ranges. So so I wonder whether we sort of might be going somewhere else right now, and you know, talking about fundamentals. Nothing is really kind of jumping out as economically particularly strong. I'll tell you where things are maybe sort of flagging up a little bit, is that the bigger number, like the unemployment number, is a lagging indicator. Where it becomes a leading indicator is when you look at things like job applications and you know, even non-farm payrolls is lagging or coincidental, really. So so looking at kind of those internal jobs numbers, they are actually flagging up a little bit more in the way of negativity. So it could be that the Fed hold too long, but as I say, our interest rates so high they're restrictive. Doesn't really look like it. Not when you look at the stock market.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Because I can remember when I was paying 17 point something% on my mortgage in 1981.
Right.
There's no fun in that, I've got to tell you. But
yeah,
I can, and that's probably why I can still remember it. So, yeah, is it high at the moment? By my standards, you've got to be kidding.
Well, when you think about it that way, you know, 17% on a mortgage, that is going to cause economic hardship for so many people that there will be defaults. And it's that kind of thing that really sort of drives the panic, is when people can't pay their mortgages and the banks have to claim back the houses. We're not really at that.
That's had a slight effect.
Yeah.
But and prices are starting to come off for that reason, I think, here in Australia. Interest rates come back down a little bit, that will ease that, no question. I'm not sure where we are really in that struggle or in that equation, but I think you're right. I don't think we're going too far either way at the moment.
No, and that does create opportunity. Do you know where I think it's also quite interesting, and I thought about this with the new government coming into the UK, is that if interest rates get lowered, which I think they will, and I'd put my neck on the line and say this month the BOE lowers interest rates. And I was talking to a friend recently, and he was sort of saying, it's going to be a while before they bring them down. I was like, I don't think so, mate. I think the only reason they didn't bring them down last month was because of the election. Now they've got the green light. I think they come down this month, and I think that does cause a sell-off in the pound, short term. But I think it could boost the UK economy, pretty nicely, because we're growing at 0.8% GDP, which is below the mean, but it's still in growth. If they lower interest rates, that adds a bit of liquidity, and that could give us a decent boost. And all of a sudden, the party that's come in are benefiting from an economic boost, not because of anything they've done, but because of this clearing of what's happened in the past and the clearing of inflation, and then the Bank of England are able to act. I don't think they come down a lot with interest rates, but I do think they get below 5%. Not next meeting necessarily. I think they'll be on 5%. Possibly they go down 50, but I don't think they will. I think they ease it down. But if you're growing at 0.8% with interest rates where they are, then the growth, when they start lowering them, you'd assume would go a lot higher. And I think the UK could be in a really, really strong economic position, being one of the first to lower the interest rates.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe the honeymoon continues. I don't know. Certainly, and that was interesting to me, that the change of government really did. I'm not sure what it did to the FTSE. What did it do to the FTSE? But to the pound certainly rallied.
Yeah, the pound has rallied. The FTSE's struggling actually at the minute. But I think that's really good, because what I'd like to see is a FTSE sell-off, because I think the FTSE's a buy. On the longer term, as an investor, I think the FTSE's a buy. And the reason I think it's a buy is for the reasons I've said. I think that there's going to be a bit of boom might be a bit extreme, but I think that there's going to be a genuine economic pickup in the UK, purely because of the monetary system and the way that the monetary system will flow. Now, of course, that is dependent on inflation remaining at 2% or below. But if it does remain there, then the BOE, I think, will continue to drop interest rates, and that tends to have an economic positive side effect. And the reason that I think the UK is going to be doing really well off the back of it is that very few other regions are able to do the same. And that's why I think we get a little bit of a head start out of the blocks of the high inflation scenario. Now, if the Labour Party can do what they hope to do, which is bring in a British energy system, then it would be the perfect time to do it. If they can bring in British energy system, because the borrowing will be lower, and they can really expand at a pace. And again, that's going to boost the UK economy. So I think the FTSE is the place to be over the next 5 years.
Interesting. So, and the reason I say that's interesting is everything that comes into my inbox at the moment, or my notifications on all the bloody social media things that I do, YouTube and etc., are saying all the experts are really, really, really bearish. The S&P 500 or the stock market in general. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
FTSE's not in that. Will FTSE not? Well, your opinion on that statement to start with, and if that were to be the case, if we do have this massive correction that everyone's tipping.
Well,
and we've heard this before, of course. But,
yeah.
Do you know, I survive that if that did happen?
Probably not in the short term. No, I mean, do you know what I think would if there's a correction, and as you say, we hear it all the time. The thing about the correction is that US stocks are probably overvalued. However, if the US gets control of inflation in the same way that the UK has, and how that's happened, I haven't got a clue. I don't know what policies have changed things, whether it's to do with Brexit or whatever. But if the US can get down to 2% and the Fed start lowering interest rates, then there's no reason for the stock market to be expensive at this stage. If anything, it's probably quite nicely valued. But at this stage, we've had such a huge run up, and this is when the whispers start to happen. Every time we see huge rallies, this is when people start.
for good reason, because
Yeah,
you know they're overbought.
yeah, yeah, they are. Everybody's
But
got really confident.
it's the
Um,
retracement that is the question. Is it a retracement? Is it a reversal?
yeah,
How big is it going to go, etc.,
yeah.
etc.? And you've got all these pundits at the moment, and as I said, and as you agree, we've heard it all before. We're going to hell in the handbasket.
Well, I hope we do, mate. I hope we do because I would be buying. You know, I hope it does drop significantly, and everybody starts to panic and over subscribe to the sell side because I'd be a buyer at a decent price. I don't. I've got to be honest, mate. I like the US stock market because of AI and you know and where the technology is going, but I hate the price and I hate where it is,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't get involved here. So I'd like to be involved in it, but I'd love a big correction. It would be amazing. I wouldn't be sort of thinking this could take ages to get out of it. I think it would be, you know, not necessarily short term, but we could do with something. But if you sort of think about why I mean, that is crazy. Is that? Oh, yeah, that's Drone Shield. Oh my goodness me, is that gone? Is that? What's that? A
it,
weekly?
it's through $2. That's a weekly chart, man.
Wow, that's doubled in what, 2 months?
When did I first start? Dollar
Goodness
12
me.
here, and I missed the entry here, and I missed the entry here by 0.5% or some bloody thing when
Yeah.
it did retrace.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big problem because ultimately it was, you know, it's a bit of a penny stock, isn't it? And it's
Of course it is,
10x.
and both you and I said we can't trade this at this price. Look
Yeah,
at what it's done.
yeah, yeah.
That's
But it's
what
a great
you know.
company. Great
Yeah,
company.
absolutely.
Yeah, wish I'd known about this back in July
Oh well,
last year.
I should have mentioned it back in July, but unfortunately, it wasn't on my radar.
What, last year? Yeah.
It would have been
No.
good though, wouldn't it? Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
amazing. That's the trade really of the year by the looks of things.
And but of course, this is a weekly chart: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you go, I can't buy this. There's no way
No.
I can buy this.
No, and the Nasdaq looks quite similar, and this is why everybody's saying it's overbought and overvalued.
Well, I keep getting signals from um, Gordon's
Yeah.
tool to sell the Nasdaq.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
Oh, that's
And,
interesting. So that's flipped, is it?
but some I get to buy, so yeah, it changes day in day out. It's really you know, and yeah, that's where we are. We're at a very interesting point right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
as we are mostly. But and I now go to gold and potentially silver because of the US dollar scenario. And I guess we should
Yeah.
mention those as well. If the dollar is going
Yeah.
to be weak, does that bring gold into play?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's the no question. No
Against the
question it
dollar
brings.
anyway. And
Yeah.
I've been trying to short this, and I got run over.
Yeah. Well, we had a little paper trade on this one, didn't we? And I put an order in on this
I
one
had
to
a real
sell.
trade on it.
Oh, you
This
did?
was
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough one, this one. It really is. Tough one to do anything with because you know, it's definitely strong and definitely bullish. But again, it's one of those things that it looks overvalued. So there is a temptation to want to sell it off.
well. There's certainly a temptation for me, but my couldn't trade that one because it's too big. But that one there was tradable, and I did trade the pullback on that. I don't know why I've entered here. That doesn't look right. Maybe that's why that reversal bar on the weekly. That's what I traded. Second lower high, and that didn't work. Mainly, I don't know what it did against the euro or the Aussie, but against the dollar, it had no chance because the dollar was so
Yeah.
weak.
Um,
But yeah, it's interesting. It still hasn't put in a higher high, but that's a massive bar there last week, no question.
actually, yeah, it's broken out against the Aussie as well.
Has it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting because that's the strongest currency pair. Or that's the strongest currency on the board. The
Yeah,
Aussie.
certainly taken out a trend line.
Okay. So gold might be on its way again, yet again. We'll see.
It could be. It could be.
What else was there? Anything
Nothing
crossed your
else,
bow?
mate, except for I would say, when we're sort of thinking about on its way, this is where things are becoming a bit difficult because everything's kind of like almost squeezing the fundamentals of almost going to sleep a little bit as the numbers are, I suppose, they're not strong, but they're not weak. They're just, they're doing okay. They're doing okay. They're not. It's not like they're holding on to survival. They're just doing okay. And actually, sort of like a little bit of growth in an economy is what people expect. So it's not like we're thinking, oh well, things are okay, let's buy. Certainly with the currencies anyway. But that does kind of make gold a tricky one. I look at gold and I wonder whether we just go sideways right up until the current pattern meets the trend line coming up, and then everybody's sort of like going long again.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I could make some money if that goes to there. I'll keep my eye on the game changer bars.
Yeah.
Interesting one is oil as well.
Yeah.
Coming off that trend line, and
Yeah.
kind of stuck at this level. Not
Stuck
sure
at the
what
level.
happens
US
next.
driving season, which is tends to be bullish for oil, but
Yeah,
that may well be
holidays.
priced
Yeah.
in. So you wouldn't want to sell it. I would suggest at the current price, it's not attractive because it's right on resistance. But you wouldn't want to suggest a sell too far below the monthly pivot. I would have thought if it can get halfway between the highs and the lows again, it would probably be a buying opportunity.
Monthly pivot retest would be interesting,
Yeah, that would be great.
or a test even, not a retest. It hasn't been there yet because we're only 8 days in, I guess, of July.
Yeah.
Which of course is holiday season, as we know. Silver, not that interesting.
No, same as
Uh,
gold, isn't it? It's just in a difficult range in a lot of respects.
S&P went straight through. Where did I see a double top on that? Must have been on the daily chart. Yeah, went straight through it. So,
Yeah.
interesting there as well.
Yeah, calling the top on
Uh,
the US stock market is an impossible task. It's no point.
yeah. Well, I've never really traded the S&P 500, but I do start to get interested when I see that. But as you know, I need to see a lower high before I get interested. That certainly hasn't transpired.
No.
That's for sure. Euro for today, as I always do, have a look at the 30-minute chart and see if we've got an edge. That edge is an untested daily pivot. It hasn't been tested. It's been absolutely hammered all day long. No edge there now for euro versus the dollar. However, that said, I do have a couple of trend lines here that look interesting, and I've got a double top. If I were to see price consolidate a little bit here on the 30-minute chart, then pop back underneath here and retest it, then I think there's probably a small opportunity to take some money in this vicinity between the trend lines. But that would be as far as I would go with that. Apart from what we've got, how's your trade going?
The trade is, where are we at? I think it was going okay.
All right,
No, it's not really gone anywhere, to be fair, mate. We're about 3 pips in profit right now.
3 pips is
Yeah.
good if you've got $1,000 a pip riding on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Samsung SM S916B. That's a microphone, is it not? Or a
Could
television? Not
be.
sure. West Texas Intermediate daily chart. Wanted to short it this morning. Woke up too late and missed the entry. West Texas. I've only got XTI. Have you got WTI?
They're the same, I think.
Are they?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
If you
Okay.
scroll over XTI, then
Game changer bar. Got it. If I scroll over what, sorry?
Yeah. No, sorry, but yeah, it's US crude, so it is the same.
Same thing. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can see why you'd want to do that. Oh, Lewis. Lewis is Samsung. How are you, mate?
Lewis loves a little bit of oil and gold. You're getting good at that
He
stuff as
does.
well.
I don't think you and I did very well on gold last week, did we, Lewis? I had a bit of a hiccup on gold. Fortunately, the week before, I traded the breakouts and did okay. So didn't quite pay my way, but down two trades. Yeah, I only had one. Um, Interesting, Lewis. What do you do now? I'll ask you that question. Now that you've missed the entry, what's your strategy? Do you say, okay, bad luck, I missed it? Or do you say, maybe it retraces and I can get the price again, or I can get a better price? Or if it goes now back beyond the entry, it was wrong. Mohammed, I'll answer that question in a minute on CAD Swiss. And yeah, it's an interesting one, CAD Swiss. Really interesting. We'll go there now while Lewis is answering that question. Waiting to go back up to the daily pivot, looking to short setup. Okay, let's investigate that. Where is the daily pivot? I haven't got my.
Well, that's a CAD Swiss.
Oh no, that's oil.
Oh,
So Lewis is back to here, lower high maybe, double top lower high. Got it. Makes sense. About 83.60. Okay, a little bit below the daily pivot. I got you, mate. I understand exactly what you're trying to do there. Makes perfect sense. CAD versus the Swiss. I'm upside down on CAD versus the Swiss, and here's the reason why. And I spoke about this morning in my group. Excellent game changer bar. Why is it excellent? Well, the reason it's excellent is it's multiple, really. You've got a triple top sitting there. You've got the top of a channel sitting there. You've got a lower low and you've got a lower high. So why didn't I trade that? Am I mad? That's a classic setup. And you've got the backside of a trade line as well. This is the weekly chart, right? Why wouldn't I trade that? Well, the reason I didn't trade that is because on the weekly chart, same chart, I've got convoluted left shoulder, I've got a head, and I've got a right shoulder. And if I look at the monthly chart's telling me exactly the opposite to what the weekly chart's telling. It's telling me it's come off this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, became resistance here. So this level here is super strong. And I've got that monthly bar telling me to buy. That's why I didn't trade this. So am I completely confused on this one? Yes, I am. I suppose you could say the long term will override the short term. Longer the stronger. Yeah, I get that. But I can't not see that bar. I just can't not see it. So I think there's probably a bit of downside to be had. And that's the key. There's only a bit. I don't think there's a game changer bar trade here for me, because when I'm looking at game changers, I'm looking at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 1. I don't want to trade 1 to 1 on game changer bars. That's not the thing, because they're weekly charts to start with. They should be giving me an indication that price is going a long way in that direction, and that's not what I'm seeing here. So there's my analysis on CAD versus the Swiss, completely upside down. What about you, Ash?
yeah, the CAD Swiss. I really like your technical analysis of it. I've got to say, mate. It's one of those ones that we obviously sort of we got quite close to for a little while.
Yeah,
You'd kind of, because of the the interest rate differential, it kind of, that's why it was becoming quite attractive. It was becoming a really interesting currency pair to trade. And I really am more focused on that weekly time frame, so the inverted head and shoulders. But the only time that I would probably want to have a look to see if there's a short-term picture for a long upside is if it comes and tests the monthly chart, and then the monthly pivot. So if it comes down to test the monthly pivot, that would also look like a bit of a breakout spot. That cluster, that sort of bear flag that was the bear flag, the very on the daily, that's fine.
On the daily, sorry.
Yeah. You see the very last bear flag before it dropped one more time.
Here.
Yeah, there. So if it could test the top of that bear flag, then I think where the monthly pivot is, then I'd be interested in looking for the longs, because I think that would be a fair place to try and bounce. I think it will attempt to bounce there, and I think that's where the price becomes interesting, because that bar from
well, that's not going to upset that at all, is it? So
no, exactly. But that bar from last week, I mean, that's a tower top. Looks like a little bit more downside. It could be more than a little bit more downside, but it does look like this is coming down a bit further. Which if it holds around about the monthly pivot, that to me would look like a good point to try and attempt to buy it. Decent interest rate differentials and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. I think there is downside, but I think it's extremely limited.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, and the CAD does look, I mean, obviously I'm in a Euro CAD long, stretched at this stage during the week. I liked the dollar CAD as a short as well, but when it came to the dollar CAD, they're very close bedfellows, which is interesting because if we're thinking about dollar weakness this week, then the CAD kind of goes with it, which is another reason I wouldn't be sort of looking at the Swissy CAD yet anyway.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'd have to say on dollar CAD that we've got a pretty strong top here, but we've also got complete consolidation here.
Yeah, exactly.
Really going nowhere. It's a tough one.
It is. It is a bit of a tough one. I liked the I like the dollar CAD for downside, but I agree with your assessment. The consolidation is there, and it's a quiet Monday so far. We're pushing a bit.
Maybe we can find something up here to trade it short, but not here. This is the wrong price to trade short.
Yeah, you're right, mate. It's right on support, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, not in love with it either.
Bang on it. Okay. I'm convinced. Got to come back up here before, but dollar's weak. What's the CAD going to do? Oil comes off. Yeah. There's all sorts of scenarios there.
Yeah, absolutely, and those things do need to be taken into consideration. So yeah, I would say I'm short on the I'm long Euro CAD, which is kind of the same as Swissy CAD as well. That's I'd be short on the CAD Swiss purely for the same reason that I'm long on the Euro CAD. It's possible that the region gets a boost in Europe to do with the French elections and things like that. So yeah, I'd be still looking for downside on the pair over the short period. Maybe a couple of days.
There you go, Mohammed. You've now got our complete analysis on CAD versus the Swiss. Short to get long, I think, is the.
Yeah, I mean that's a way to play it. That is a way to play it for sure.
Right, mate. I think we're done.
Cool. Good work.
We'll catch up tomorrow, right?
Yes. Yes, let's do that.
Days.
Let's catch up tomorrow.
You look rather fresh for an IFP post.
I've just, what? Over the last 10 minutes, I've just started to hit a bit of a wall. But I haven't felt too bad, up until, I don't feel too bad now, but I've just started to feel a little bit of the effects of it, because I'd be going into the end of an IFP session now. And so I tend to wind down a little bit. So yeah, I'm just going into that now. No, it's not that. Do you know EuroCAD? Just a quick update on it. Looks like it might be taking out the short-term time frame. Then if do you want to bring up a chart of the EuroCAD
Sure.
and have a look on the
Short-term
15-minute
anything on
time frame?
15?
Yeah, so we were trading the 15. So you can see that there is it's just starting to edge above the current bar. Sorry, the previous bar, which has got
profit here. Is that right?
Well, definitely where to look to take profit. I'm not suggesting that I will, because there is, as we did the measured move on the longer term timeframes, there is some potential further to go, which I think will be interesting. So there's a potential take profit there, but the measured move sort of suggests that there is actually a possible take profit on we could see if this will break out. So I'm more likely to manage it than just than close the position.
Happy days.
But yeah, but it's edging up, mate.
At the moment. Yep.
Yeah, we're about a third of the way into profit right now. Looking at that. Yeah,
Right.
no, about half actually. Halfway there.
Lord give it strength.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for being our trading buddies yet again on this Monday, the 8th of July. Wow. Christmas will be next. But
yeah.
we've got the Trump Biden show before that, 1 month before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ugly. Ugly that one, mate.
Can't believe it. Anyway, we could talk.
Where's the opportunity? That's the question, isn't
it? Yeah. That's what we've got to work out.
Yeah.
Where is it? We could bet on Joe falling down. We could bet on him going to sleep. We could.
Well, do you know, interesting as well. You know, we're talking about the US stock market. Where a correction before that election would be amazing, because Trump has been very good for the stock market in the last round. So that's a time to buy if he gets in.
There you go. Pre-election. I nearly said it. Pre-election correction.
Yeah. Nice.
Is the name of the game. You heard it first here. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll catch you tomorrow, Ash.
Thanks, buddy. See you tomorrow. Have a good time, guys.
Bye-bye for now. Uru.